What does healthy even mean anymore? It feels like every single day there's a new challenge to worry about, but at the same time, powerful new solutions are popping up. So today, let's break down what it really means to be healthy in the world we live in right now.
We are just bombarded with headlines like these every day, right? Warnings about air pollution, soaring diabetes rates, what too much screen time is doing to us. It can feel really overwhelming and honestly, a little contradictory. So how do we cut through all that noise and figure out what it truly means to live a healthy life?
All right, to make sense of it all, here is our game plan. We're going to cover 5 key areas. First, we'll figure out what healthy actually means. Then, we'll look at the 2 main kinds of diseases. After that, we'll dive into our first line of defense, tackle the biggest health hurdles we face today, and wrap it all up with a personal health toolkit you can start using immediately.
Okay, so let's jump right into part 1. What is healthy, really? For a long time, the answer was pretty simple. If you weren't actively sick, you were considered healthy. But we now know it is so much more complicated than that.
The World Health Organization gives us a much better way to think about it. Just look at this definition. Health isn't just about not having a disease, it's about achieving complete physical, mental, and social well-being. See? It's a proactive state of being, not just the lack of a negative.
Think of it like this. Real, true health rests on 3 pillars. You've got your physical health, how your body feels, your mental health, your emotional and psychological state, and your social health, your connections with others. It's when all 3 of these are in balance that you find genuine well-being.
So what threatens this balance? Well, that brings us to part 2, the 2 faces of disease. Generally speaking, the things that make us sick fall into 2 major categories, the enemies we catch from the outside world and the ones that can develop from within.
This chart here breaks it down perfectly. On one side, you have communicable diseases. These are the ones you can catch, right? They're caused by things like bacteria and viruses, and they spread from person to person. On the other side, you have non-communicable diseases. These don't spread, and they're often tied to our lifestyle, our genetics, and our environment. Think diabetes or asthma.
And this is a huge deal. For most of human history, our biggest threats were those infectious, communicable diseases. But now the scales have completely tipped. In places like India, thanks to rapid urbanization and huge shifts in our diets, these lifestyle-related diseases are now the #1 killer. That means our entire approach to health has to change with it.
But here's the good news. We humans are incredibly good at finding solutions. So let's move on to part 3, our first line of defense. This is all about how we learn to fight back, not just by treating sickness when it happens, but by stopping it before it can even start.
We've all heard this a million times. Prevention is better than cure, and it's the absolute core idea behind public health. Simple things like washing your hands are huge, but probably our single most powerful preventative tool has been the vaccine. The story of the very first vaccine is just a fantastic example of the scientific method at work. So picture this. It's the late 1700s, and a doctor named Edward Jenner notices that milkmaids who got a mild sickness called cowpox just didn't get the deadly smallpox. So he formed a hypothesis, ran a very brave experiment, and got a world-changing result. Proof that we could train the human body to fight off a deadly disease.
And the result of that discovery? Absolutely staggering. A massive global vaccination campaign led to this. Smallpox, a disease that had terrorized humanity for centuries, was completely wiped off the face of the earth by 1979. It is, without a doubt, one of the greatest achievements in all of medical history. All thanks to prevention.
But of course, as we conquer old enemies, new challenges always pop up. That brings us to part 4, today's biggest health hurdles. The health problems that define our time are complex, and they're tied to both our modern lifestyles and, ironically, the consequences of our past successes.
Just look at this number, over 100 million. That's the estimated number of people with diabetes in India alone. This is a modern epidemic, and it's fueled by modern lifestyles, more processed foods, less physical activity. It is the perfect example of that non-communicable disease challenge we're facing now.
But NCDs aren't our only hurdle. We're also facing a massive, growing threat to one of our most important medical tools. It really begs the question, why are some of our most powerful medicines, like antibiotics, starting to lose their punch?
Okay, so here's how antibiotic resistance happens step by step. In any population of bacteria, there are always a few that are naturally drug resistant. So, when you take antibiotics, the medicine kills off all the harmful bacteria.
But those resistant ones, they're left to survive. With no competition, they multiply like crazy. And finally, these new, stronger bacteria can spread to other people, creating infections that are way, way harder to treat.
So, with all these challenges, what on earth can we actually do? Well, that brings us to our final and maybe most important section, your personal health toolkit. It's time to turn all this knowledge into action.
To fight back against those non-communicable diseases, it really all comes down to lifestyle. And look, it's the stuff we all kind of know we should be doing. Eating a balanced diet, staying active, getting enough sleep, avoiding things like tobacco. Every single one of these choices is like adding another layer of armor to your shield.
And for those communicable diseases, it's all about smart hygiene. And this isn't just for you, it's for your entire community. Simple things, washing your hands, covering your cough, and staying up to date on your vaccinations are unbelievably powerful tools that keep everyone safe.
So, we've seen that health is this delicate balance between our body, our mind, and our community. We've looked at the challenges, and we've looked at the tools we have to fight back. The best news is you don't have to change everything all at once. It all starts with just one single step. So I'll leave you with this question. What is one healthy choice that you can make starting today?